Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. We had a little bit of a hiatus last week for a holiday, but we are back, and we are going to just get right into things. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for the show, and the players going around the table we have...
Hi, I'm Nick. I play Thaddeus, the human paladin of Antechamber.
I'm Kay. I play Harmony, who's a wild magic sorcerer tiefling.
And I'm Melissa, and I play Mara Stormwind, who is a rogue pirate.
And we're missing tonight, for the first time ever in our show's 48-episode career, Zach, because he's sick. But he usually plays Hunter, the Warforged fighter. Let's see. We stream every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time and then post those episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout the show, we use several custom items, and even a custom wild magic table. A lot of various custom things, so if you're interested in any of that, there will be info on that in a moment. Music comes from BattleBards, TabletopAudio.com, and Incomptech. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can check out the channel page for links and info to all of those things I just mentioned, the custom items, custom wild magic table, and the music as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can check the video description for the same information. In any case, you can follow us on Twitter at Antiheroesanon, which the info for that is on both the YouTube page and the Twitch page, so if you have already forgotten it, you can go and check it out there. To find out when we're taking breaks, what we're doing, or see recaps of the episode, we like to post short tweets about what each character does each episode, things like that. And other than that, enjoy the show, share with your friends, and definitely come back for more if you do enjoy. So, to get into a little bit of a recap, the party broke into the tower of the wizard Helja Ironshield, sort of at the behest of a friend of theirs named Cial, but reached her too late, finding that she had already died at the hands of 3 members of the Eyes of the World, this sort of ominous organization of mages from the far eastern edge of the world. The 3 members of this group that they encountered at the top of the tower being Kuor, an Illithid Lich, an undead Illithid, something like that, Braxis, a type of beholder, and Wen, who is a Warforged fighter whom Hunter remembered as an old friend, and a fellow victim of these necromancers and mages in general. They aren't all necromancers, but that's beside the point. After a disastrous battle with these Eyes of the World members, they retreated to Cial's shop, where they rested and began to plan their next moves. Thaddeus suggested that it would probably be soon time to go meet his father, who is due to be promoted from Baron to Duke, and requested Thaddeus' presence in the city a while back. Meanwhile, Mara went off on her own briefly and received new orders from her employers, the Undercity Sisterhood, this group of rogues that are operating within the city. Rogues and thieves. So, we'll go ahead and just get going. I suppose Mara's disappeared for a second, but that's fine. Yeah.
That happens with Mara.
It happens with Mara. She just disappears. Rogues are like that.
So, you guys had rested in Cial's mystical... You'd gone into Cial's shop, and Cial had invited you into their hideout. And upon following Cial into the cabinet drawer, what appeared to be the cabinet drawer of the counter of the shop, you found yourselves in actually a very spacious room that was just decadently dressed with greens and gold and things like that. Things that mostly matched Cial's current attire. Cial always is changing in appearance, and currently had sort of green in the hair.
Yeah, they were like gems, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
like silk pajamas.
Silk pajamas.
But the silk pajamas match the hair as well. You got some items identified, conveyed some information, spoke a little bit about what Cial should do, whether Cial is safe here in the city, and then Cial offered to let you stay the night here, and so you did. You wake up in the morning, and by the time, I believe Thaddeus is probably the first to wake up, the room has changed completely. It's still, I suppose, the general same layout, this sort of circular layout with this bed that goes along the back wall and some work tables in the middle and a wardrobe and a mirror and a vanity and things like that off to the side. However, all of the blankets and sheets, the ones you're even like sort of entangled in sleeping, have changed to a hot pinkish color, trimmed by silver for the most part. And Cial has, you can see Cial is at work at the vanity, sort of applying some eye makeup to the eyelids. And you can see that the hair is still it's still pretty much raven black for the most part. But it's longer than it was last night. It goes down to somewhere around the shoulders. It's sort of free flowing a bit, and the fringe of it, the very bottom part, is dyed a hot pink that matches the robe that Cial is adorned with. And you can see that Cial has also matched the jewelry, the ear piercings and necklaces and bracelets and things like that they're wearing to match the silver trim of the room for this morning. Come on, boys. And yeah, so Thaddeus is probably the first to wake up. You can see that Hunter is powered off in the corner, sort of by the wardrobe. And Mara and Harmony, I believe, are sort of snuggled up on the bed a little bit. Harmony is probably like draping her arm over Mara's face a little bit. And that's the situation you wake up in. Gradually, everyone else wakes up, except for Hunter. He remains in his powered off state.
Alright, well, that is going to spend a little while, doing his morning curse.
And Cial sort of just lets you do that. No one
Did you
really
say-
bugs you.
My arm was on top of her face.
Yeah,
Or was
I
it the other
figured
way
that's what
around?
would happen. Your arm would be on top of her face.
Yeah. Better my arm than
And
your
Mara would
leg,
wake
I
up and
guess.
she'd have to sort of extract.
Or like my
herself
tail.
from that. Yeah, oh, the tail. That's
My
better.
tail's over her face.
Yep, much better. And like
Mine.
as Mara is breathing, the tail goes up and down.
I love that so much.
Yeah, so that's about the scene when you wake up. And Cial starts to see you all coming to and says, "Well, is anyone hungry for breakfast? I can have it ready in a moment.
Yes.
Awesome.
What would you like to eat? I can do most of anything.
Bacon.
Bacon, all right,
And more bacon.
and more bacon." Thaddeus, any preferences? Dietary constraints?
I like
Religious diets?
Eggs are good.
Eggs and bacon it is. And Cial sort of glances over at Hunter, and he doesn't eat, right? I don't remember. All right, wonderful. Then Cial then walks into the wardrobe, like you
So this is
witnessed
the
last
same one
night.
that you like stuffed Helja into?
Mhm.
Okay.
She stuffed Helja into it and then disappeared for about 5 minutes and then came back out. Cial walks into the wardrobe for about 5 minutes again and comes out with a tray that is just laden with scrambled eggs and bacon and pieces of toast, and sort of sets it out on that work table, pushes all the other stuff sort of off to the side to create space, and then goes back into the wardrobe and comes out one by one with chairs for everyone to sort of sit around the
Alright.
table and eat breakfast.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna go eat. I'll sit at the table.
Yeah, and Cial
Yes,
sits down
sounds
too. It's been a long time since I had company, it feels like. Even though I've only been in here hiding for about a month or so.
That's a long time to go without something, so.
This is true. This is true.
Bon appetit.
Mm-hmm. And then Cial starts to dig in a little bit.
So you've been in total seclusion? No customers? No nothing?
I have to go out into my shop to renew the enchantment that allows this place to stay once a day. But other than that, I've pretty much spent my life in here the past month. Sort of peeking out and just watching for someone to come in who I could speak with. And eventually you guys bumbled in.
You can be lonely living like that.
Well, I have my work, so there's plenty to do. There's no shortage of things for me to work on. Projects.
Sure.
Just doesn't make for very good sales.
Might not be so bad. This place seems really awesome.
It suits my needs, but it is secluded.
Speaking of sales, is now a good time to shop.
Cial chuckles. Well, we could speak a little business over breakfast. That would never hurt. However, there might be something that would facilitate this. Let me be right back. And Ciel rushes off into the wardrobe again, and this time comes back with a smaller tray that has mimosas on it. 4 of them, one for each of you.
Did you say mimosa?
Mimosas, yes. Just like orange juice, it's got sort of like a sparkly alcohol in it.
Yeah. Good morning to us.
Freshly squeezed.
Good.
How many take downs it all in one go?
I'll get you another one.
That's alright. Fine.
And Ciel casts a glance at Hunter. Is this normal? Does he usually power off for this long? I seem to recall him powering off for
What time is
a
it?
few hours at a time.
I think, what is it, 4 hours that he needs to power off for?
Yes, he
That seems normal.
powered off around, I want to say, a couple hours past the middle of the night last night, so it seems like it should be a little beyond that time for this.
You know, he kind of had a rough day yesterday.
Thaddeus actually gets up and walks over and shakes the open.
His armor sort of rattles.
Hunter,
There's like no response.
I don't know what to do here.
I'm gonna walk over to and look at him for a second. Can I do like an insight check or investigation check?
It would be
Or-
intelligence check, and if you were proficient with tinkering tools,
I'm
which
not.
I know you're not,
I'm not.
you
but
could add that. But
I have an intelligence modifier +2.
yeah,
It's
you
not
can go for
so
that.
bad.
Is he the type of person that would leave us a note if he was gonna do some
20.
strange
20. Wow.
Not
Okay.
natural, but
oversleeping guys? Because I don't know him very well.
no.
You know with a 20 that you know Hunter well enough, and you've spent enough time with him that you can tell mostly the signs that indicate that he is alive,
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that a Warforged is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's things like when you touch the skin, there's like a slight rumble. Whereas when you've fought other Warforged and defeated them, that rumble seems to disappear and things like that. And you can feel that slight rumble. It very much just looks, but the eyes are dark, right? Usually they'd be lit up, except for when he's powered down. So it really just looks like his powered down state. And it looks like as if it's for some reason continually longer than it would normally.
Okay. Well, he's alive. Maybe we should just leave him to it. You know, like, I like to sleep when I'm depressed.
He is safer here than he would be otherwise.
This is
I'm
true.
gonna grab his bag and
Okay.
be like, I'll hold on to this in the meantime.
We'll have to lug him out momentarily when I leave to recast the spell. However, that's fine. We can drag him back in, I'm sure.
Can you levitate him?
I believe I could,
That
yes.
might make it
Well,
easier.
Thaddeus is going to experimentally try to pick him up. I don't think
He
anyone's going
seems
to try to
super
pick him up.
heavy.
Your strength's 19, right?
It's 18.
18. You can do it. It's even with your strength, it takes a little bit of effort, but you can do
Don't waste a spell on my behalf.
it. All right. Well, we don't have to take care of that at just this moment. Sit down and enjoy breakfast, and then we get to it.
Harmony is just laughing.
So, Mara, was it?
Yes.
You said you were in the market for.
Well, I understand that you have a cloak of the manta ray.
Well. This is an item I've made before. I have to go check my stock to see if I have it currently. But yes, that is within my power to create if you're interested in purchasing such an item. Let me go check my inventory and see if I have one, and if so, how much I would need to run you for it. I assume you've just been paid for your first task and are looking to spend the money?
Okay. I don't think I was. I don't think
Were you paid?
I don't think so.
You would remember that Alyssa told you... Was it Alyssa?
Yeah.
It's Alyssa, that's the name, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a moment where I was like, did I name her Alyssa or Allison or
Not named
Alicia?
Close enough.
Alyssa told you that you would get, you would receive payment for on the guild's behalf from Thaddeus Hammerlock's younger
Yeah,
brother,
so I don't think I've
Gavin
been paid
Hammerlock.
quite yet.
And then you would be able to take your cut from that.
Yeah.
Which you recall, you're getting paid whopping 25% of the cut for this. Let's see, Cloak of the Manta Ray.
Write that in there. I don't think I wrote that in there. I remember that.
I'm trying to find it and see how rare it is. There we go. Uncommon. Okay, so that won't be too expensive. Cial sort of pulls out a ledger and scrolls through it and says, yes, okay. I've made this item before, and when I did, I previously sold it for... I don't know how much. Previously sold it for approximately 400 gold pieces.
I don't have anywhere near that much.
You don't know how much you're going to be paid either.
You can also offer to work for it. Maybe
Yeah,
she needs some
do you-
errands done.
Do you have any little odd jobs until I get paid that you'd like me to take care of?
There's none that come to mind at the moment. However, a situation always does present itself, so if you're willing to postpone part of the payment until you receive your payment from the client, and then work off the rest based on a favor according to how much the differential is, then that would be an acceptable deal in my eyes. I do happen to have one in stock. Cial ran back and jumped.
I think we can come to an accord.
Excellent, then I think we have a deal. Just be aware that all deals are binding, as these, who I've dealt with before, can tell you. And she sort of looks at Harmony.
I like look around
Look at
like,
me.
who is she looking at?
Really say 400 gold?
Yep.
For a cloak.
It's a very good cloak.
Magic items are expensive. That's kind of on the cheaper side. Ew.
It's a really good cloak, though, because that one would give you...
Really
You can breathe underwater, and it would give
Seems
you
like
a really
it's
fast
awesome.
swimming speed, so...
Yeah.
So no frame of reference here.
That's cool.
Okay.
And it doesn't require attunement, so bonus is there. It's a really good item. I don't know why it's uncommon, but I'm going with it. Yes, well, we can definitely make that arrangement, so let me go and package it up in a box, and I'll bring it out for you shortly. Cial takes the last bite of eggs, shoves it in the mouth, and runs off to the back room in the
While
wardrobe.
she's gone, I'm gonna lean over to Mara and say, by the way, I have something for you that you might like. Consider it as like a thank you for saving my life, kind of. And I give her the bracelet of poisonous serpents. This little guy is really awesome, but I haven't used him at all, and I feel like it would be better with you.
Thank you so much. This goes with my outfit.
I was thinking that too. It can turn into a snake, but it can also add poison to weapons. So I thought maybe, you know, a little bit of poison on your daggers might do some good.
Might come in handy.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Little bit helps.
We should remember to get Mara's art drawn with the bracelet of poisonous serpents. Okay.
It's like a tattoo.
It's like a snake on your
So
arm.
Cial comes back with sort of like a gift wrapped box,
Yeah.
almost like you would find at like a Macy's or Nordstrom or something like that. If you were to buy a gift of clothes for someone, you know, it always comes in that like rectangular cardboard box. He brings out one of those and sets it down on the table, and it's got sort of the Cial. It says Cial's Ferindel branch written in the same font as the sign out front across it. And it's got like a little ribbon tied onto it. Well, here you go. And then Cial reaches across to shake your hand.
Deal.
Excellent. And they then flash the 2D smile.
Hope that's not going to come back and bite us.
When has a deal with Cial ever put you in a dangerous situation?
I can think of something quite recently.
So at this point, most
Is there
of you have
anything
probably
else that you want
finished
to
up.
shop for? Do you
I'm
need
fine.
anything?
I don't need anything.
I'm also, do have enough money to purchase if you have anything you're looking to unload from your time adventuring, potentially.
Nope.
I don't know what Hunter has in the bag,
No.
but he might have a few things.
Didn't you guys do that
only
already?
in artifacts, that sort of thing?
And not necessarily. There are some mundane items I can use for
You went
enchantments.
through
So, for example, if you had a spare greatsword lying around, I
Yeah,
could
because we were just.
sell that. I could buy that from
I
you
did.
for part
I
of the
know,
market
but
price.
So I meant
Oh,
I
not necessarily for
Yeah.
sale. Okay.
If Hunter wants to also.
Ah, yes, I can always use gems in enchantments. So,
Oh yeah, I took found this. And I pull out the piece of quartz that I stole from Thimblefoote Enterprises when we were on the tour.
Did I give you a value for it?
No, you just said it was a piece of quartz. And I
Okay.
was wondering, is it just a gem or is there any kind of cool properties to it?
Well, quartz is useful in certain spells. However, it's a little bit of a... Well, it's a cheap ingredient, so it's not worth all that much, but I will happily buy it from you.
I think I'll keep it. Okay, it's shiny.
I don't remember where I got this gem, or what it is, or how much it's worth. I just have written on my character sheet 1 gem.
1 gem. Oh, it's from Nasria, and I
Oh.
think it's worth
Oh yeah, she gave us
100
Yeah.
GP.
Asri gave this thing?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
gave us each a gem when she left. Worth 100 GP.
Aww.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a lot of gems, but I also have gem-encrusted shield clasps, but I'm gonna keep those too.
Okay.
Can you imagine me enchanting those?
You could. I don't know what you'd enchant them with, but you could.
I don't know, but that's just really funny. Okay.
You could enchant them with like a consumable shield spell that you could
Right,
throw
right,
up.
right.
That'd be cool.
Because they're little shield clasps.
I have a pipe that blows bubbles. I can poison it.
Poison bubbles.
And suck in the poison yourself?
No, blow the bubbles.
Interesting. I would love to see a situation where that would be useful.
You never know.
I'll see, I'll check this.
I like that idea. We can work with that.
Oh, I should
I don't
get that
have anything
as a
else to sell
surprise.
apart from the gem. There's nothing
No.
selling.
Just wanted to make sure, and I will work with Zach to see if he has anything.
You might have stuff.
That can happen off screen. In which case, CL sort of stands up, cleans up the table, and says, well then, I unfortunately need to recast the spell that keeps this place in effect. Can we just step out of the shop shortly? And then
Can I
CL...
like cast Mage Hand to help you? But it's like Mage Hand can't lift more than 10 pounds, so it's like holding on but not really helping.
It's actually like hindering.
Hindering
You're
a
like
little bit,
actively
yeah.
pulling a little bit.
I'll
CL takes the dishes away and then sort of like leads the way out of the squeezing cabinet. And who is going next to follow?
I'll follow.
Okay.
I'm probably thinking to leave because I've got a really big burden on
Okay,
me.
so you're right behind CL.
Yeah, and I'll follow.
As you're just starting to push Hunter through the opening, you hear CL's voice shout, "Go back! Go back!" and begins pushing
Oh, jeez.
Hunter inward.
Oh, jeez.
And CL sort of comes in, shuts the cabinet door in a panic, and looks at you all, hair a little bit frazzled. And you can see there is a burn mark on it.
Oh.
And CL says, you will recall I mentioned briefly how there might be some trouble when Drix's contract expired.
Ah.
You can stay in here or you can come out and help me resolve an old conflict, but I
What
need to
is
take
about
care
to
of
happen?
this.
Wait, why would Drix have an issue with you?
It's a long story, but suffice it to say I was part of the binding ritual that bound him to Helja's tower.
What's
And it
about to
seems he's
happen
come
in
back
here
for
if we don't
vengeance.
leave?
Yeah, the spell's
This
gonna
place
end,
will
right?
stay in place for a few more moments. That should be enough time for me to clean up out there. However, it's up to you if you would like to come and assist.
Stay here, I'll go talk to Drix.
You can try. CL steps aside and sort of pulls Hunter back the rest of the way.
Oh, jeez.
And you squeeze your way out.
Yeah.
You see,
What do we do?
as you come out and sort of stand up from behind the counter, you see not the Drix you expect to see, but clad in the same sort of purplish robes as Drix, and with the same amount of piercings and things like that, is a jackal-headed creature standing on 2 legs and brandishing a wand in the direction of the counter. And Drix says, "Ah, Mr. Hammerlock, I did not expect to see you here. It seems you have chosen your allies poorly. Where's Cial? Bring them out here now."
Ciel is inside. She has sent me to speak on her behalf because I thought I might lower the tension level here a bit.
Okay. The other things you see, crawling along the walls of the room, is a greenish scorpion-like creature with bat-like wings. And you can notice Drix is missing that emerald centipede from around the neck. And standing at Drix's side, or actually rather across the room, is this weird purple bug-like creature with 4 arms, each of which is capped with pincers, and holding in 2 of those arms a trident. So I'll fix them on that. Drix is standing here. The trident creature is standing there, and the imp is crawling along the walls there. So Drix says, well, there's little you can do when someone's imprisoned you in a tower for 100 years or more. However, speak your piece, I'll listen. I'm not unreasonable. But the wand doesn't lower.
Right. And Thaddeus doesn't make him to like draw his blade or anything or activate it.
Mm-hmm.
This is, from what she said, I didn't get much of the story. It spent only a couple of moments since she reappeared in there. She assisted in the ritual of the bounty.
Yes, this is true, but it wasn't the first conflict of interest that Cial and I have experienced over our long history.
Has she typically gotten the better of you in these conflicts?
It is give and take. And make an insight check.
Okay. Nat 20.
Oh, wow.
You can tell there's like a slight...
That's a 22.
Yeah, it's enough though, with the 20 anyways. You can tell there's like a slight shift of the eyes before the narrowed, angry look returns. That sort of gives you the impression that that's not entirely true. And that Cial is probably usually getting the drop on this character.
It seems to me that right now you are in a good position vis-a-vis Cial.
This is true.
You're free. You have time to plan. You know where they are. I would suggest you take that time and not go rushing into a confrontation.
You mortals are so lacking in knowledge. I can get some temporary vengeance now and come back for more permanent vengeance anytime I choose.
Well,
and make an Arcana check as well to see if you understand sort of what he means by that.
okay, it's not my strong suit. It doesn't have a negative anything, so it's kind of good. 6.
6. Okay.
I like that after having turned all my dice to 1, the first thing I rolled was a nat 20.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, it works. Glancing around the room.
Turning them all to one?
I've always done that. And I guess it doesn't always work, but, you know. Glancing around the room, you know at least that 2 out of 3 of these creatures are likely fiends of some kind. But in this sort of moment where you're trying to negotiate, it escapes you what sort of a fiend's aspect it might be referring to. But it's definitely something fiendish, and so there's some reason behind its confidence.
I come bursting out.
I'll say again, you are not in the best position right now.
Okay, and then as Harmony comes
I come
out,
bursting out because that was my am I able to withstand the urge to go help or not? Roll. I can't.
Without missing a beat, Patty says, she has backup, ourselves. You have brought 2, I see.
yes, this is true.
There are 2 more inside, and we are not the only defensive measures that Cial has around the shop, which is where you stand right now. This is not the time nor the place to make your stand. Cial, do so elsewhere.
Make a persuasion check.
Can this be an intimidation check?
Yes, it can.
Yeah. Because
However,
I am basically threatening him. If you don't leave, stuff's gonna pop off.
this character is very set in their course of action, so make it a disadvantage.
Okay.
But I'll give you a chance.
Mara just took out 2, by the way.
Okay, Mara pops out.
Oh no!
Well, that's an 8.
Oh,
I
okay.
rolled a 1.
And then he says, so be it. If you choose to throw your mortal life here, then that is the way it will be. And Cial pops out behind you as well, making everyone now in the room. How do you guys want to be positioned at the start of
I'm
this?
standing behind Thaddeus.
Okay, so Thaddeus is sort of around here at the corner, I would assume. You're sort of behind him there, perhaps. Cial has just popped out of the cabinet, and Mara maybe about there.
Okay.
Alrighty, then let's roll some initiative!
I didn't think we were going to get it in the fight this session. We did so immediately.
We did
Surprise!
so immediately.
This is why I'm really proud of my naming for this the temporary name for this episode. Then.
Doesn't work for everybody.
It wasn't on a one to start with. I just think it's funny.
No, that's
Not close.
not close. Mine. Just right mine.
Minus
Yes.
for now. You done with your turn?
And Nick,
Initiative
could I have you
A
use
9
Yes.
plus.
would you look up on D&D Beyond on the phone the stats for a shield guardian?
Oh yeah.
If you would like to take control of
Plus
it,
one over here.
Oh boy.
so that I'm not rolling against myself.
Give me that.
And it'll just go on your initiative.
Okay. Pretty good in the other children.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out.
You printed it, right?
I will have to show the camera my printed and painted minis for each of these, because these are all my work.
They look really good.
They look so cute.
You could also look up the animated table if you want to control that as well. Okay.
Everybody's afraid of that.
You're good at that stat, aren't you, though?
I'm +7 at it.
Man, I should have put some on the
The cheer you wanted. But the character, the drawing looks so bad.
Bad eh?
Bad, eh? Looks
Bad.
bad, eh? Oh no, my pen. No.
Theme from earlier, GD. GD.
Thaddeus.
That
Oh
theme
wow,
is
Thaddeus is quick.
It's BS.
Cial is the quickest to act as they see Drix beginning to bring up the wand to cast a spell. And Cial says, "Unfortunately, Drix, I have friends here today, so I can't be getting on with this. We have business to conclude." And points the wand over at Drix. Or actually, Cial probably has a staff. Sort of turns the staff in Drix's direction, and then casts a spell, which is going to do a ton of damage, which I'm just going to take the average of. Drix will make a saving throw, which he fails. Drix takes the full damage of this spell. HP. Do you ever have that thing where you can't find the one thing you need?
Yep, all the time.
Okay. A purplish beam of energy streaks out from Cial's wand after a brief incantation and catches Drix square in the chest, and you can just see the sort of the moisture and such drain from the body, and the skin becomes a little withered, and the jackal fur seems to fall out in tufts at the instant touch of this beam, and then there's a snarl in the fanged mouth of Drix. And then it is Thaddeus and Cial's guardians.
Thaddeus brings out the moon blade and activates that with the bonus action. Turns to Harmony and says, "Banish the fiend." That's a quick way to bring stuff close.
Okay.
And then he is going to take the dodge action.
Okay.
I'm not going to do this one. It is right this time.
What does the Shield Guardian... the Cial speaks a command word that activates the Shield Guardian, and it's basically just defend, so you can take that however you want with the Shield Guardian, and the table also springs to life.
I don't have a stat for thing, but the shield guardian is going to walk forward a little bit and attack that thing.
It comes lumbering out and brings its fist up towards the imp that is crawling along the wall.
Confidence our ally this time.
Ooh, you done great. I have an 11 and a 7 and a 15.
The 15 hits.
Okay. So that does 10 plus damage.
Okay. Are the attacks of the Shield Guardian magical?
I don't see them.
Then they're not. So the fist slams against the imp creature with a resounding thud as the fist sort of continues and hits the wall as well. And it skitters out of the way of a little bit of the damage as well as the second fist, and then sort of hisses down at the Shield Guardian. Mara, what would you like to do?
Okay. Can I do a sneak attack?
Potentially, yes. What do you
Because
trying
I'm
to?
kind of behind everybody.
The ways you could get your sneak attack would be if you used your short bow against an enemy that has an ally next to it. So in this case, that would only be the imp there, the green guy.
Okay.
If you were to use your short sword, I think you have? Rapier, that's what it is. You could get sneak attack since you're a swashbuckler as long as you got up next to someone.
Okay, let's do that then. I'll use my rifle.
Which one do you want to go up to? The one that Seal hit with the magic, or this one that hasn't quite moved?
That one.
This one?
This one.
So you vault over the counter, and you get right up next to it, pull back the rapier, and make your attack.
But you also
So
get
it's
to roll 4d6.
oh for the sneak attack.
Yeah.
What was the attack roll? Did it hit?
Oh, you didn't even roll to hit yet. Yeah, it's
19.
19
does-
plus 6.
Oh, yeah.
6.
Yep,
So,
definitely a hit.
Yep.
This thing isn't quite expecting you to vault over the table towards it, and it sort of tries to brandish its trident, but it
So
can't.
plus
10, 12,
plus
13
3.
plus 3, so 16.
16 damage. Okay. And it sort of recoils and hisses after that attack, and then it sort of pushes the rapier back out and looks at you with its intense orange bug-like eyes. They have that sort of crisscross pattern that flies' eyes have, where they're like
Gross.
looking at you from a million perspectives. And he sort of menacingly advances towards you with his trident. Then it is the Fiends team. This one, who is right next to Mara, is going to roll 2 attacks, one with its claws and one with its trident. Pretty decent roll. 19 and 23.
Oh, but you can use 19 damage.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see which one hurts you
Because
more.
those hitters, she's only got 14 AC.
Yeah.
He does with his claw a total of 6 slashing damage as he cuts into you, and then with the trident that he has, he does a total of 9 piercing damage.
So half that one.
So 4.
Yeah, so
So 10 damage altogether.
10 damage.
You've
Okay.
got
So
your
you-
uncanny dodge, really.
That's right.
dodge half out of the way as it just grazes your side with the trident. Then the
Don't forget.
jackal-like creature, jackal-like foxish creature in the corner, is going to, in turn, aim a wand at Seal and cast a spell.
Okay.
However, this is also going to affect Thaddeus, the Shield Guardian, and Mara.
Everyone has a plus 2.
So, does Mara get it too?
Mara is.
No? Okay.
Okay, however, it is a dexterity saving
Right, so
throw.
you can use evasion.
So I need a dexterity saving throw from Harmony. No, I didn't say Harmony.
No, you
from the
didn't say.
Shield Guardian, Thaddeus, and Mara.
So, you've got your saving throws.
See all
Plus 6. Yep, same as up here.
Did she have plus 6?
So roll
yeah, sure.
plus 6. Add 6 to it.
Shield
Okay,
Guardian also
15.
hits with a 1 on die. That is gets a 7. No.
One dead beat. You haven't said.
I have not said yet.
Mar got a 15.
Spell save DC is 17, so anyone can beat that.
Okay, so you still take half damage though because you have evasion.
Okay, so what more damage is that?
He hasn't said it probably. He will say it.
The total damage is 44 for anyone who
Holy
fails.
shit!
The half damage is 22. As a lightning bolt streaks out from this creature's wand, and then it hits Cial. Cial takes that full damage as well, and then lightning bolts leap off from Cial in the direction of those of you who I targeted. And Cial
22
coughs up a little bit of blood. At that, sort of, you can see the usually fanged smile is curved back in a grimace of anger. The imp turns invisible.
Of course he does.
Yep, and might go somewhere, but that's hard to say. Harmony.
Alright, well, I'm gonna toss a healing potion at Cial. And then I'm going to use my amulet to cast.
Cial catches it with a natural 20.
Nice! Sensei! Then I'm gonna use my amulet to cast banishment on the. What's his face?
Okay.
Asshole.
Go ahead and check for wild magic.
Yep. Happens without incident.
What is your spell save DC?
It's very high. It's a 17.
It's charisma. This is a good stat for this one. Saving throws. +7 to charisma.
Damn it.
And rolled an 11, so 18.
I'm gonna bend luck.
Then luck? Okay, do it.
You need to take 1 point, right?
Yep, so it works no matter what.
Yeah. So down to
This-
16.
Creature disappears in it's almost as if there's a red portal of energy that opens up behind it, and you can sort of hear the sounds of screams and wails coming from out of it briefly before it envelops the creature and pulls it in, and then the portal closes itself.
Alright. Then I'm going to
Hi.
yeah, I'm gonna run back through the portal
Okay.
into the
Yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah.
I feel like bye guys!
You just took out the main threat. You're good. You don't need
My
to
work here is done!
prove anything else to anybody.
I'm just gonna go back here and concentrate.
That's a very good turn. Then Cial will turn their attention to that bug-like creature that is next to Mara. And will... not the imp, the bug-like creature here.
Yeah, the
Oh, the imp.
And is also going to cast a banishment spell.
Yeah!
Which that creature might succeed. 14 plus. Saving throw bonuses. Oh, it fails!
Yay!
So this creature, the same sort of reddish portal that you can hear screams coming out of, envelops it, pulls it in, and it disappears as well.
Nice.
And then Cial sort of looks around and says, Cial looks around and then says to the shield guardian, it's on the table, smash it!
Okay. Shield Guardian.
It is now Thaddeus and the shield guardian's turn.
I'll do the Shield Guardian.
It would normally be at disadvantage, however, Cial has given it a command for where to go.
I think these will both hit. These are. It's a 17, I believe. That hit.
17 hits.
Okay. No, okay. 16 blood damage.
Okay. It is, the fist slams down on the table and you hear like a crushing sound, almost like the sound of crushing a bug. It's that like chitinous exoskeleton being broken. And when it pulls back up its fist, you can see the crushed remains with like bat-like wings sticking out at weird angles and twitching.
So great.
for seconds before it dissolves into like this black ichor,
Ew.
and is dead, clearing the room.
That's... That is shrugs and like does his sword back. I didn't really do anything.
You didn't have to do anything. You just
Great
gave the command.
job.
My leadership was impeccable.
2 banishment spells, man.
Yeah.
So after a brief moment, Cial comes in and pokes the head in and says, I banished the other one, and the Guardian took care of that little impish bugger, so the room is clear if you want to come out so I can recast the spell.
Sure. I come out.
That is puts a hand on Cial and restores.
Oh, lays on hands?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm down to
How much are you giving
3.
Cial?
Oh, down to 3? Oh. I'll give Cial...
Mara's like,
Cial can have 20, and Mara can have 30.
Cial, you can see some of the wounds from the lightning. Most of them are like burns and things like that. Begin to heal up a little bit. Not completely, but
yeah,
to some extent.
I just love the
feel
epic,
better
like,
already.
mid-battle
Thanks very
potion
much.
Yep. And Cial also hands back that potion and says, thank you, but it turns out I didn't need it.
Yeah, well, thank God for those banishment spells, eh?
Yes, and then Cial turns to Mara and says, thank you for your quick action on my behalf. I'll be sure to factor that into my calculations when determining the
Already?
weight of your favor.
Sweet, already.
I'm a bit surprised. You know, I did warn Drix. I told him things would go bad for him if he struck here and now.
Yeah. Drix
He
and I
didn't
have
seem to
a
be.
long history, and I would have been very surprised if he did back down.
He didn't seem to be very smart.
Clearly not.
He's a creature called
Wait,
an
they're
Arcanoloth. They're ancient fiends that were created by night hags in the millennia during the creation of the world. Very, very ancient.
In that case, he's not coming back anytime soon, is he?
Unfortunately, they're very adept at planar travel. And they're very hard to kill because they won't die if you kill them in this world.
Right.
So no, he won't be coming back for a little while, but I will see him again, and when he does, he better think twice while you folks are around, it seems.
I mean, we can banish him once a day, every day, if that's what it takes.
This is true, and
Nice to see
I
you
forgot
guys
about that
again.
option. I had it myself, actually. I
It's
just
a really
completely
good feeling.
forgot.
Right?
So thank you for reminding me of my own ability.
That's what I'm here for. Speaking of which, speaking of your abilities, I think you owe me a couple lessons now.
Indeed I do. Just let me recast this spell and then we can get to work. I'm not sure what the rest of you are going to be doing with this time, but I'll need Harmony for a few days if I'm going to teach her anything.
I mean, your business isn't too pressing, right? Can we
I
put it
don't
off for
think
a
so.
couple days?
I think it's a hold for a couple days at least.
How about you,
It
Mara?
does sound like this would be a useful thing for you to know.
Yeah.
But Cial, is there somewhere in Ferindel I can go to hire a scribe?
Scribe? Yes, I'm sure there is. For what use?
Are you gonna write to?
I can do that myself.
Oh.
I need help cataloging.
Well, there are accountants within the city, that's for sure. And, yes, I'm sure you can find someone. You might try, there's a market ward, if I could see my map, that I provided you guys.
Don't forget to show the camera.
He
I don't
finally
wanna
gave
show
us a
the
map of the city.
Camera my terrible map. It's on dope book paper. I'm gonna get a better map that I can actually put up on the stream. Something slightly digital, but for now
Only
this is what
slightly
I have.
digital,
Yes, the new market and trade ward on the second level, that's one level down from where we are now, would probably be the place to look for some services of that nature. I also want to show the camera of the minis I made.
You could also, you still haven't located that gem from the temple, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd have time to do that now. Do you think it's not in the city anymore?
I have a plan for that, but I need money first. I'm broke right now.
How much money do you need?
It's a good question. I don't know yet. I would have. Mara, where can I get in touch with Alyssa?
I would imagine she's somewhere on the first level.
Wait, what? You? Mr. High and Mighty? Mr. Don't Steal That? Mr. Harmony, no, don't do that. That's not a good
Listen.
thing to do.
It was stolen. And who better to know where the location of the stolen good is than a professional thief?
I see your point. So you're thinking you need money for bribes?
I'm thinking I need money to hire somebody to steal it back. I don't know where to begin.
How much is the going rate for that kind of thing, Mara?
I'll have to check with Alyssa. She sets the rates.
Where would I find her?
Well, I'll take you to her. If you want to
I'd
arrange a
appreciate it.
meeting, I can arrange that.
Alright.
Let's follow some more rats.
So that's where I'll be.
Well, okay, well, and I reach in the bag of holding, because I assume that's where Hunter has put all of his money,
It is.
and I take out, like, 300 gold?
Mm-hmm.
Ish? I don't know if that's gonna be enough. And I'll hand it to you.
Okay.
And
Oh,
say, here.
I didn't realize we had this much. Wow.
I think there's more where that came from. I felt a lot in there when I said gold.
I'll shovel some.
Yeah, it like
My
keeps
house.
shooting out for a little while.
It was like, oh, oh, oh.
I'll put it into my.
I mean,
my little
mom's
bit
the
pouch.
word, but there's more where that came from. So if that's not enough,
Well, I'll try not to use it. But thank
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
I
you better
appreciate
give me half for safekeeping.
I don't think you should do that. She's a thief.
Hey, have I steered you guys wrong?
I love you, honey, but you made us follow rats.
Not sure where you were going, didn't you?
Not off to a clean start.
Yeah, they
Um,
got us there.
She did the same for others.
so you're breaking off Mara and Thaddeus, and Harmony staying here.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with Harmony.
Okay.
As Mara and Thaddeus exit the shop and begin to make their way down to the first layer of the city, where Mara is sure she will find Alyssa. Harmony. Ciel recasts the spell, and as you enter again, the same pink as Ciel's robes and the hair is what greets you. All
This
of
is a cool spell.
yes, somebody's magnificent mansion. You could I like to call it Ciel's magnificent mansion.
Well,
But-
why not?
I wasn't the one who invented the spell, so they
Uh-huh.
usually name these spells after the people who invent them.
I see.
Anyways, sit down at this work table. Let me go get something. Well, actually, first of all, what am I teaching you?
Well, I can use magic, right?
This is true.
It's kind of a thing I can do.
To some excellent extent, as we just witnessed.
Yes. And we've come across these items that let us use magic, right?
Right? These ones that I've sold to you several
Yeah.
times now. Smile flashes.
Yes, yes. I want to know how to make them.
Well, this is something I can certainly teach if you... Dogs. As I mentioned back in Northwood, I don't teach my skills to those I deem unworthy. But I have seen your skills, I have seen your tenacity, and I would be willing to teach this to you.
Oh, no, I'm not tenacity, but
Ciel rolls their eyes because they get the joke. They know how fiendish and tiefling naming
I mean,
culture
one
works.
of my best friends, that was tenacity, and man, she had it.
Uh,
It abounds.
So Ciel kind of rolls the eyes at the joke, but then says, "You understand my point. This
Yes.
is ancient magic that is rarely practiced throughout the modern world, especially now since wizards are becoming so rare.
Uh-huh.
And I see I'm going to have to adapt my methods. Anyways, let me bring out a few materials and we'll get down to some interactive practice."
Okay, sounds fun.
Ciel brings out a whole array of arcane reagents and sort of like sets them down around Hunter's sleeping body.
Oh yeah, he's still there.
He's just propped back up against the bed, powered down again. And as you watch, you can see that occasionally, though he doesn't usually, while he's powered down, twitch or make any movement at all, he will occasionally like just do a little twitching motion or something like
I'm
that.
gonna decorate his sleeping body with my shiny buttons.
Yeah.
While Ciel's teaching me.
Okay.
I'll just be like spending the time putting buttons on his head and like his shoulders.
And Ciel begins to teach you the very rudimentary basics of enchanting, which essentially involves casting spells ritually over and over and over again until the magic takes within the item, and there's different properties of items that will make it more. It would make it so it accepts the magic better. So, like for example, if you want a fire spell of some kind to be stored in an item, you want to cast it into specific types of material or specific types of items, things like that. Like there's this affinity network between items, and this is where Harmony starts to get completely lost. Go ahead and make an Arcana check to see how your retention goes as you're putting buttons on.
Okay. Affixing buttons to Hunter's metal. 20.
20. Okay. Surprisingly, having something to do with your hands actually keeps your mind free.
This is the secret we missed out on.
And Cial sort of is aware of this as Cial tests you occasionally throughout the lesson and notices that you're picking up on things more and more as you have something to do with your hands. And so it doesn't stop you as you're doing this. And then after maybe a few hours or so of this essential basics, all verbal lesson, Cial finally stops and says, "We'll take a break there, and then we'll get down to the practical, I think."
Okay.
And Cial sort of goes off to leave you to take a little break. Mara and Thaddeus, you head down to the lower level of the city. You could take a taxi or walk there. If you walk there, it will take a lot longer. If you take a taxi, there will be a little bit of a charge, but I'm actually not going to charge it for you because it's bronze and silvers, which doesn't really matter to someone who has thousands of gold.
Or, 300.
Yeah, we'll take a taxi.
Okay. But like I said, the taxis won't take you down to the very first layer because that's where all of the sort of scum and villainy of the city is. Where is music? There we go. But the taxi will take you to the stairway that leads downwards and stop there. Then Mara begins to take a little bit of the lead.
Okay, and so I think I'll talk Thieves' Cant to people that I think will know where Alyssa is to try to find her.
Okay. Make a... It's a good check to make for this. I guess just a charisma check to approach the right people.
Charisma?
Mm-hmm. Plus, make it an advantage because you know Thieves' Cant and know who to look for, I guess.
Okay, so 16.
16, okay. It takes you maybe 15 minutes of sort of cautiously wandering around by the light of Thaddeus' sword and whatever other light you might have, like a lantern or something like that. But after a few minutes of wandering the streets in this pitch-black darkness of the bottom layer, you manage to find an individual who's sort of leaning up against one of the houses, and they have on them, you can see just barely in the dim light and hidden under their robes, they have a sort of symbol of the Undercity Sisterhood, which I think I described before as sort of like, it's like a depiction of a city, like a very stereotypical cityscape, except it's flipped upside down. And you spot that hanging out from under their clothes, and you approach them, and what do you say in Thieves' Cant?
We're looking... I have a fellow here, he's good, he's with me, and we're looking for Alyssa. Do you know where she is?
And the figure raises the hood a little bit so they can get a look at you, and you can see this feminine face. They're sort of hard to tell a race or anything like that in the dark light, but they sort of look at you and say back in Thieves' Cant, "Let me see your badge and I'll take you to her."
Okay, I'll flash it.
And then the figure begins to dart off in a direction through the streets, and you sort of have to run a little bit to keep up. And they dart between alleys and across roads, and sort of almost as if they backtrack a bit, as if in a pattern to lose someone who, if someone were following or something like that. Mm-hmm. And you find yourself at this quiet little bar, which has a light on the inside, just sort of a dim, flickering light of a fire, and you can hear just soft murmurs coming from the inside. And there's no like name for the bar or anything like that. It looks like there might have been a signboard with a name, but it's all graffitied and covered with various profanities and things like that.
My kind of place.
And the person does a series of knocks on the door, which Alyssa taught you is the pass code if you need to get into one of the houses of the Undercity Sisterhood. And after the knock completes, a hidden latch in the door slides open, and you can see a pair of eyes peering out through it. And after they get a look at the group that's there, they close it and open up the door. And you can see this sort of narrow, dimly lit bar with just sort of one or two people immersed in this like hushed conversation in the corner. And then there is an elderly proprietor who has just slid the door open and then says in Thieves' Cant to the person who has brought you here, "Oi, who are these folks? What are they doing here?" And the person replies, they're here to see Alyssa. Don't worry, she's got the badge." And the proprietor says, "All right, well, she's down below, so go ahead." And the figure then leads you into a back room, and there's they unfurl the rug that's on the ground, sort of in the middle of the room, and underneath that there's a trap door. They pull out a little key, unlock the trap door, and as it flips up, you can see several trapping mechanisms that would inflict harm on anyone who is coming here against the will of the people who own this place.
96 several parts. A lot of security in this place, isn't there?
Yeah.
The person who brought you here chuckles, but doesn't really say anything. And then sort of just gestures you down and says, "Alyssa will be down there. You must be new to the Sisterhood. I can tell because you didn't know where to find Alyssa. She's always here."
Okay.
And all of this is in
I
Thieves'
remember
Cant.
that.
Which, I suppose, I'm
I
not really
was
sure what
wondering
that
if you
sounds
would
like
understand.
spoken, but he will not understand.
I feel like they're having a conversation about something totally unrelated, and that it doesn't understand why they're talking about this, and we're wasting your time. Why aren't we going to see Alyssa?
Mm-hmm.
But like, between the lines,
'Cause you
they're
don't
having
trust me.
This whole other conversation.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how Thieves' Cant works, though. So, like, you're speaking normal
You're
common,
speaking common, but it's
but
not.
you're speaking about unrelated topics.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the concepts of, like, the nouns and verbs and things like that are all crossed in Thieves' Cant.
That's right.
And only if you know the code can you decipher it. So, to Thaddeus, it sounds like you're talking about cabbages and chickens and things like that.
He's like, God damn it.
Which he doesn't trust me in the first place, so this is so awesome.
Yeah. And this person is just talking back about the most ridiculous things, like how they bought a carriage last Sunday.
Yeah.
But you can see a light at the bottom of this sort of cellar stairway that descends downwards, and the figure sort of pulls the hood around the cloak and says, "Just do the knock on the top of the trapdoor when you want Ernie here to let you out."
Sounds
And the
good.
proprietor just sort of grunts and goes back to the front, leaving you guys to descend down the trapdoor if you wish.
Okay, I'll go down.
You come out into a dimly lit, dank stone cellar room, and there's a few doors that branch off of this main room, which does have a fire going, but there's very poor ventilation for the smoke, so there's also sort of like smoke drifting in the air. But you can see in an armchair, reading what looks like a book, up against the fireplace is Alyssa, and she sort of like looks up as you come in, and then like raises an eyebrow when she sees Thaddeus, and then closes the book, sets it on a stand, and hustles over to you and says, "In Thieves' Cant, why did you bring him here? What are you doing?"
I trust him because I've been on several adventures with him and he needs your help.
Alyssa, pay her no heed. She may have guided me here. I am your client.
Ah, well, that's a different story. Come, let's sit by the fire and we can talk a little business. And sort of like pull up a few more armchairs by the fire. Now, let's hear some details of this deal of yours.
Something of great value has been stolen from the Temple of Setting.
She sort of glances down at your holy symbol on your shield and says, "Ah, I see. And you wish for us to retrieve it? Do you know where it is?"
No, that's what I want you to find out.
Okay, well, do you at least
Where it
know
is,
us?
who has it.
Do you at least know Can you describe the item in extreme detail? Because that will be necessary for our network to locate it.
It's a diamond about yay big and like I didn't know how big it is, right?
Yeah, you saw the indentation in the shield
Yeah.
that it fits into, and it's sort of a diamond that is shaped like the waxing gibbous.
Yeah. So that's it's pretty specific.
And it's large because it sets into this large tower shield. So it's, I mean, it's not quite like palm size, but it would fit within like this part of your palm. You wouldn't have to like close your fingers.
Yes, I just found it.
Excellent. Well, sounds like the first place to start would be to go to the temple and get an idea of the size of this. From what I understand of the followers of Sehanin, it doesn't seem like they would pay any mind to non-believers entering the temple.
They'll never even notice you.
Excellent. That's exactly what I like to hear when I'm performing my trade.
I mean it. You could go in broad daylight and no one would pay any mind.
Oh, well,
These dreamers.
Alyssa chuckles again. It seems like most religious folk are dreamers, from my perspective, but that's neither here nor there.
The terms of my deal are this. I don't mean for you and yours to be put yourselves into any danger. I don't want you to
Alyssa snorts at that.
I don't want you to retrieve the item. I want you just to find out who has it and where I can find them.
Alright, well, if this item is on a black market anywhere, we will find it.
Alright.
The matter of the sum in repayment will come down to the trouble we have to go to locate it.
Understood.
However, a retrieval quest would be where the real fees would come in, and I think it should be an affordable price. I'll set my network in motion. Mara, are you going to be staying with these folks for some time?
It looks like I will be with them for the foreseeable future.
Excellent. Well, I know how to get in contact with Mara, so I will approach her if we have any leads, and she can convey them to you.
Good.
Excellent. Well then, we have a deal. And Alyssa reaches out the hand to shake it.
Thaddeus reaches out ahead, and I want to roll an insight check on Alyssa.
Okay. What are you trying to determine? Whether she'll uphold the deal, or...
I think what he's trying to figure out, and he would have done this probably at some point during the conversation, is you already know where it is.
Ah, okay. Alright. Yeah, she would have made expressions and things
Yeah.
that could give you hints to that. So, make your insight check.
Well, that's a 1.
Okay. Based on the conversation, you don't think she knows.
Okay, yeah. Then I shake.
Shakes your hand. Excellent. We have a deal. And then she turns back to Mara and says in Thieves' Cant, have you collected the payment from his brother yet?
No, but we're going to find them soon.
Alright, well,
We were delayed.
sounds like we can get a little bit more payment from this family after all. So, know that your sticking with them is appreciated by the sisterhood. And she gives you a little nod. And then sort of like nods the head up towards the stairway to get him, and like looks at Thaddeus a little furtively. It's like, get him out of here.
Okay. Alright, so I'll go to
Thaddeus, as you look around this room down here, there's a few other figures, but most of them sort of vacated the room as you came
I
down.
bet. Thaddeus in his like paladin armor and like flowing sword.
They vacated the room, but the glimpses you saw of them, they were all female. Of varying races, but all female. And there were probably 6 or 7 of them, and they sort of dispersed into various rooms.
Thaddeus hasn't actually heard the name Sisterhood of the Undercity yet, has he?
You could roll, I suppose, a history check
Yeah, that's.
to see
Like,
if you might have
I
heard
don't
of them
think
in
that
your
I
previous
haven't
stay
heard it
here.
from Mara.
Right, she was
Yeah.
using Thieves' Cant the whole time.
Yeah, let me roll a history check. That would have been alright. 19?
19. You've spent time in Ferindel throughout your childhood, here and there, but it was like, while you were here, you were mostly within your family's manor and things like that, so most of what you heard was from people who came through there. And so you would hear occasional talk of a couple different thieves guilds that operate, and they sort of rise and fall was the impression you got based on your father's discussions that you overheard.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a thieves guild that you heard mentioned among those other ones. called the Undercity Sisterhood. And based on your impressions here, that'd be a good bet for what this one is.
Okay. Yeah, we'll leave the tavern or whatever it was, and I'll just send Mara. I'm sure I can find that on my back at this point. I was paying attention the way here. I don't know if you have other business to conduct wherever it is you come from.
Okay, I'll catch up with you guys later.
That's good.
Thaddeus, as you go back up then, make an intimidation check.
Okay, I'm great at these. I've tried twice during this campaign and the big fat wins every time.
That was almost
And
A 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Mara, you separate ways from Thaddeus. Where are you headed to?
Well, I think I want to go to practice my skills a little bit. So.
Okay, so like maybe up to the market ward?
Yeah.
Okay.
those
So
life
you,
skills.
you make your way up to the second layer where you know the market ward is. I believe if you can check the map for me. I think it's on the second layer. Should be a market and trade district.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
second level.
Second one.
So that's where you'll make your way up to. Thaddeus, as you sort of begin to wander through the streets, also make a survival check.
19.
You came by back roads and back alleys that wound and backtracked, but you managed to remember the pathway. You get going along that pathway. However, at some point you begin to notice, or you hear, like footprints and things around you occasionally. Someone just out of the light range of your sword, and you'll sort of turn around and say, "Who's there? I'm warning you. Stay back." You know, things like that.
Yeah.
Trying to be all intimidating. But you continue to hear them. And at some point, a big burly man, surrounded by a few other thugs, looms out of the darkness and says, "Now what's a fancy rich kid like you doing in parts like these?" Spits on the ground. Let's cut back to Harmony.
You did this to yourself! Again!
Sure.
I know.
Um,
See you later. Sort of as soon as he can.
Harmony. Cial brings out a variety of...
When she comes back after break time, I want to say Harmony is curled up, like, against Hunter, just like sleeping.
Yeah. And Hunter's all decorated.
Like, he's all decorated, but like a couple of the buttons have fallen off because he like twitches or whatever, but like...
Okay. Cial
He's
comes,
wearing the tiara, like, crooked on his head.
Cial
All
comes
jump.
back, chuckles, but you don't know that. Shakes you awake a little bit. Harmony, break time's over. Let's get
Okay.
back to work.
Sure.
And begins to lay out arcane reagents and things like that. Now, the first and easiest way to start with enchanting is with a spell you already know.
Okay.
Do you have any low-level spells that would fall under the alteration, we'll say, school of magic? The ability to shape and change matter and form? Or transmutation, that's what it's called. Alteration is not a school.
No,
No,
I
okay.
have
Well,
illusion magic.
that could do as well. What low-tier magic do you know?
Well, I know a spell that I could disguise myself with an illusion.
Excellent. That will work perfectly. And Cial grabs the tiara from Hunter's head and sets it down on the workbench. Now remember how I spoke about channeling your energies into the item
Mm-hmm.
and the item's affinity, correct? This item, you see the gems set into it. These gems are excellent vessels for illusion magic. So, we're going to attempt to channel this magic into this item. I doubt you'll be able to produce anything permanent right off the bat,
Okay.
but this is a good practice.
Okay.
So go ahead and make an Arcana check.
It'd be really bad if I used Tides of Chaos.
And also
for this.
roll on the wild magic.
Just rolling.
Oh, no.
Straight
I mean,
or-
roll to see if it happens.
Well, because I was considering using Tides of Chaos for this.
You can do that, but then roll on the wild magic too.
let's see. I'm gonna see what I get first.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna use Fiends and Felons.
Okay.
That was worse. So 10.
10. Okay. You focus on channeling the spells, and like Cial is setting up the reagents for you. You can see like your memory of the exact patterns you need to set the ritual up in is a little bit fuzzy. So you're sort of like watching Cial set up the reagents for you as you're focusing on channeling the energy of this spell into the gems. And it's a very similar process to actually what you've done with your amulet. So that's why it's not as hard as it could have been. And you can see the item begins to like sparkle and shine a little bit dully, and you are getting a little bit into your... Yes?
Did she just cast Tides of Chaos while she was casting a spell?
Yes?
I used
Okay.
Tides of Chaos for the check.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just saying.
Well,
Yep.
that's why I was wondering if this is going to trigger on this spell or the next spell that I cast.
It's sort of like continued casting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Like you have to spend like at least 15 minutes pouring energy into an item to even get it to take a little bit of magic.
Good.
Yep.
Alright, 57.
57. Oh my gosh! Okay. And then as you are casting the spell and the energy is going into the tiara and you're starting to see the fruits of your efforts pay off a little bit, you suddenly, for a brief moment, look up, lose your concentration on it, and the magic stops pouring into the gems. And all of a sudden you can't remember why on earth you're doing what you're doing, or what you're doing even for that matter. And you sort of turn around and see Cial there. How many minutes actually?
1d10, so
roll
should
that
I roll
D10.
it? 7 minutes.
And you can't remember what happened in the last 7 minutes. Yep.
What's happened in the last 7
Cial
minutes?
sort of
Was I
shakes the
asleep
head.
7 minutes ago?
What just happened? You were doing so well. Everything was going perfectly.
When did you get here?
Oh my goodness.
Wait, what? I thought I put this tiara on Hercules' head.
Cial sort of shakes the head and says, I think I understand what happened.
Are the cushions still pink?
Yes, they're still pink.
Okay. Okay, at least that's the same.
I think I understand what happened, and I think it's as I feared, and your wild magic will potentially make it very difficult for you to learn enchanting. However, it's not to say you can't.
What happened?
You lost your memory, dear.
Oh,
Last few minutes, it seems. I woke you up about 5 minutes ago to start working on this enchantment.
wait, you set all this up?
Yes.
Okay.
And
this
Cial
has
sort of
happened
like
before?
holds up the tiara, sets it on Hunter's head, and you can see like he gets half covered by illusion. It's like he looks half human, half warforged, and then
Oh.
takes the tiara off after the magic sort of fizzles after a few seconds. This is the sort of result you'll get if your enchanting goes awry. Anyways, I think we should try again.
Okay.
Perhaps focus on restraining the wild nature of your magic, if that's something within your capabilities. I'm not even sure.
Sure it is.
Roll,
Yeah.
roll another Arcana check for round 2.
Okay.
I should put Harmony back on the board.
11?
11. Okay.
I was tempted to use Tides of Chaos again.
Do
But
roll to see if wild magic triggers.
Okay.
Doesn't. Okay. I was about to say though, I think the trigger rate should be higher than 1, so I'm going to set it at 5.
Oh god, what did I just roll?
6.
It was a
Okay.
6. Okay. It's like, I knew it was low. It was under 10.
And that's sort of to represent the continued nature of the casting.
Alright.
Your magic channels into it, and you can see it sort of shimmering slightly. And Cial says, okay, that's a good start, and places it on their head. And you can see Cial's visage shifts and changes into a representation of you. Harmony, nearly perfect.
Oh.
But after about 30 seconds, it fades. So it wasn't quite a perfect enchantment.
Right. It's supposed to last an hour.
And Cial says, now that's the basics to the process. I can provide you with books and materials to get you started, but it's going to come down to practice and innovation, to be honest. I can teach you more once you've mastered the basics.
Okay.
And the more frequently and longer duration at which you cast the energy into the object, the more it will take.
The longer it'll...
Well, no, the more the spell will take to the object.
I see.
So you may be able to eventually, if you keep practicing at this and can sustain the duration you can channel energy, you may be able to create enchanted items with indefinite durations. For example, and Ciel produces from sort of like a from the wardrobe what looks like a decanter and begins to pour out water from it into a drain that is on the floor. The drain almost just appears. Pours out the water infinitely into this drain, and you watch it. It says, Ciel just says, "This decanter can pour water infinitely because it's been enchanted for a long duration of time and has good affinity with the element of the spell that is cast into it."
Wow.
You'll be capable of things like that. Stoppers the decanter, puts it back in that closet. But it's going to take time and practice. And Ciel flashes the smile.
Yeah, I think so.
However, if we work on it for a few days, we may be able to increase your ability. So, your teaching is not done there. We'll just take another little break, and we can get back to it later.
Okay.
So that pretty much represents most of the day for you. Mara, you make your way up to the market ward. What are you looking for?
I just want to stroll around and practice my pickpocketing and see if I can find anything interesting.
Just pickpocketing people?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead and roll a sleight of hand check.
I think that's a 6, so 13.
I'm trying to find a table that will let me roll on it to determine how much treasure you get. There we go. This will do. What was your roll? 13. That's pretty good. You're good at what you do, so you're like 13 is enough to beat the passive perceptions of most of the guards and things like that, which are roaming around, and the merchants and people, and as well as the various civilians. So you manage to. It takes you a little while because you have to first people watch, right? And find a mark, and then once you've found a mark, you have to tail them for a little bit, get in step with them, and then you have to get your hands in their pockets and pull out the gold. But based on your efforts the rest of the day.
Because I have a bad reputation background feature too, so...
True, so even if a few guards do spot you, they sort of then catch, maybe, I don't know, would Mara even intentionally flash the sisterhood symbol at them? Or would she just sort of like...
Just kind of smile.
Yeah, I would think I would try to charm them.
Yeah, you smile a little bit at them.
Because the
then
bad
they,
reputation comes from being a pirate.
Yeah.
that's true.
Not from being a member of
They
the
recognize your
Right.
piratey garb and then sort of turn the other way.
Yep, that's true.
And you manage to find, all told, 80 gold.
Ooh.
I rolled really well on this table.
Making your way toward that 400, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A little side action.
Now
I
Thaddeus,
Now I have
for
my
again.
is there anything else Mara would like to do?
No, after I practice, I think I'll make my way back.
That represents several hours of work, really. Tailing different people, because no one has 80 gold on them unless they're very rich, so
Yeah.
or
I
300
couldn't
gold.
Yeah.
pickpocket that much anyway at one time.
Yeah.
Thaddeus, you find yourself face to face with this extremely muscular man with sort of like a torn open shirt, muscles bare. You can see scars across his chest, and he's got like an eye patch on one eye. And he said, what was it? Something along the lines of, "And what's a rich young lad like you doing down here?"
Hiring a better class of thief than you.
It's not about class down here. It's It's about muscle, and he sort of nods to the people you now see emerging from the various corners of the room.
How many are there?
There's like 8 of them total.
Sure.
Oh boy.
Says, so how much you got on you, rich boy? Because I'm telling you, there's a toll back to the surface where you.
Studies looks around. What's the how far away from the building am I?
Just any old building,
A lowish.
a lowish one. We'll say like 30 feet or so.
How tall is the building?
Actually, no, they would have come at you in an alley, so you're like right in between 2 buildings.
Yeah.
Probably one of them is something like 10 feet tall, and one is more like 20 feet tall.
Sure. That is jumps up on.
You just hear the guy go, "What the hell?" And like all the other
That is
guards.
calls down. Next time, don't menace a man with a glowing sword and magic boots.
And you just leap from building to building and get out of there. Yeah, you can hear them running along behind you, but they can't keep up because you're just literally jumping from building to building. Those boots, man.
So anticlimactic.
They're running after you, and you can hear them shouting, "Ah, come back here! We'll come find you and steal from you another time. Just mark our words."
I think the last thing Thaddeus says
Screw you!
before they lose him is, "It's always about class."
Oh.
I love it. Yeah, and Thaddeus manages to easily escape. You don't even have to make a check because you're going to use your boots. Very nice.
What is your name that he has the boots?
Yep.
I've stopped forgetting that I have the boots.
So yeah, that brings everyone back to rest at Seal's, unless you wanted to go to the Dusty Bottle instead.
I think I'm going to go to Seals.
That's where I'm gonna be.
In which case, Seal welcomes you all in. You get the impression that Seal is very, very happy to have company, despite insisting that they were fine on their own. They didn't really need company. Seal settles into a project. Hunter is still snoozing by the bed.
Harmony is like passed out.
Yeah, Harmony is passed out. from
She's
too
just
much.
mentally exauded. She's like sprawled on the bed.
She's got leftover bacon hanging out of her mouth.
Hunter is still covered in shiny buttons, and he's wearing the tiara again.
Seal says, "Well, if you want dinner, I can get that for you."
Dinner would be good. I'm a bit hungry. Had a long day.
I must say I'm a bit tired from all of the interaction myself, so I'm just going to. Seal snaps some fingers, and you can see a like a spectral servant floats out of the wardrobe in this like decadent butler's outfit. Floats over to Seal, and Seal just says "food" and points at the two of you. And the servant goes back into the wardrobe and comes back a few minutes later with, I guess, any sort of food you would have requested.
Yeah.
Some sort of stew or steak or something like
Harmony's had her dinner already.
that. And you can find your rest easily enough. When you awake, the room has changed colors again.
Has it changed? Has anything else changed about it except for the color? Is it like still the same like circular bed layout?
For the most part, the layout stays the same.
Uh-huh.
However, it's mostly the colors and the trim. So the trim will change based on the color of jewelry that Seal is wearing. So let's see. Today, Seal, I think, is feeling orange. So you wake up in a bright orange room. Where did that go? My music. Oh, different playlist. That's the problem. There it is. You wake up in an orange-colored room with what would go well with, I think, black trim. Almost sort of a Halloween-y vibe to it, if that were a thing in this D&D world. Just black and orange. And Seal is sporting these black onyx diamond or gem earrings and things like that. With the hair cropped short, with the tips in the orangish color.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I know Seal changes their appearance every day. I mean, their like hair and stuff, but does the face change?
The face is always the same, except for the eye color. The eye color changes.
But the face structure is always the same.
And the
Skin
hair
color
is
changed?
always the hair is always raven black as well, except for the tips or some
Okay.
part of it which is dyed.
But the cut.
The cut
Yeah.
changes.
Cool.
Right, you sleep well,
Very well.
and Ciel arranges for breakfast again.
And then I'll be sad when we have to leave here eventually.
Hunter is still passed out for the majority of the morning.
I'm gonna start collecting my buttons off of him, sadly. He's not waking up yet.
After breakfast, Ciel sort of looks at Mara and Thaddeus and says, I don't know if you have any other business, but I need probably one more day with Harmony.
I didn't quite finish yesterday's business, so it should be alright.
Excellent. Well then, Harmony.
Mara, do you need any help doing what you need to do?
No, not from me,
You did
thank
be a good friend
you.
yesterday. I thought I might extend a favor.
No thanks, I'm fine on my own.
Alright.
She's like, please don't come with me.
Right, so Thaddeus, you're going to head off, and Mara's also going to head off then?
Yeah.
Mara, what are you off to do?
I was just gonna figure
Oh.
out.
Okay, we'll start with Thaddeus.
I'll say, hey Thaddeus, if you're gonna be out in the town today, would you mind picking me up more potion ingredients?
Maybe a list. Alright.
Ciel sort of like glows with a little bit of pride that you were able to, off the top of your head, write potion ingredients.
Yep.
Yeah, and so however many gold pieces worth of potions you want to make, just you have to buy that many
Yeah.
ingredients.
I
but it's-
figure I'll spend the money when I make the potions like we've been
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
before, but like for the story,
Yeah.
for the roleplay, please give me. Sad to be here. Thank you.
This time is actually going to go hire a scribe.
Okay. So you were told that that would probably be in the market ward,
Yeah.
and you find as you leave that that's probably where Mara is heading to.
So you end up walking. It's like that awkward thing where you say goodbye to each other, but
Yeah.
then you end up walking together toward the parking lot or
No,
whatever.
I actually want to go to the Dusty Bottle.
Okay. In which case, Mara heads off down a layer. Actually, you both need to go down a layer, but then your ways will split off as she heads more southeast to the Dusty Bottle, and you go more just east to the Market District. And make we'll say just a straight charisma check to see how long it takes you to find a scribe.
Business one of the best stuff now. It says, oh hey, 22.
22, easy enough. You find, I'm not going to name the shop, but you find basically a scribe by trade pretty easily. And their rates are sort of more middle of the line. You sort of go around and you find a couple different ones, and you find the one that's more middle of the line, not too expensive. What would you like to? They're sort of like a man with big spectacles behind the counter, and as you walk in, the little bell rings, and he is holding a pen, working on transcribing a document at the desk. He looks up at you and says, "Ah, what can I do for you?"
You can come with me. I'm here on behalf of Helja Ironshield. She has impressed me and serves into cataloging her library. Her old librarian has...
Helja Ironshield, you say, the abjuration master of the city.
That's correct. Her old librarian has vacated his duties.
I see. So you wish for me to come with you into Helja Ironshield's tower and catalog the library?
That's correct.
Okay, this is doable. And he sort of rings a bell that's next to him, and a young boy, maybe about 10 or so, comes running out, and he says, "Milo, watch the shop. I have to go appraise the library." And yeah, he puts on a jacket and a cap, and goes out front, and he says, "I can actually drive if you want to come with me in this vehicle."
You have a car.
Yes, I have one of the motorized vehicles if you wish to. Or we could walk.
No, let's drive.
And he takes the wheel and he drives insanely slow. Like, people are honking at him from behind and going around. People are like passing in like there's still occasionally, for the people who can't afford it, like hand pulled carriages. Like people will be
Like rickshaws.
Yeah, rickshaws. That's the word. There's still occasionally people like those, and they'll go jogging around this car. But he sputters slowly towards Helja Ironshield's tower. And you find yourself in front of it.
Okay.
Did you want to approach it on this layer, or where you came out on the third layer? What was your plan?
This layer.
Okay.
Where was the library?
Second line, right?
Second layer.
Yeah, so
for the most
this
part.
is where we need to be anyway.
Okay. As you approach the door and sort of jiggle it, it does seem to be locked.
Well, you broke in once before.
I did.
And you can see that sort of faint shimmer of... Because I think it's permanent. I don't think it requires her to be alive. Let me check the wording of the spell.
Guess he needs me to pick the lock.
Well, it might be a magic box. You have dispel magic.
I do have this lock, but I don't have knock. So I have, like, if it's physically locked, I don't really have a way to
You used to step inside.
gotta be able to see where I'm going.
It is also, yep, it is a permanent effect, so
Just jump over.
the doors seem to be magically locked.
Okay. I do have the spell magic in hand, so I am going to cast that.
You cast a spell magic on the door, and the lock clicks, and the doors sort of swing open, those
Nice.
heavy stone doors.
Is it foggy in here?
It's foggy in there.
Ah!
Fog rolls out. And the man sort of looks at you and says, "Is that normal?"
It is unfortunately very normal. You learn to get used to this sort of thing when you deal with Helja.
Excellent. Well, lead the way.
And I do, as best I can, from what I can remember of how to get to the library.
You walk into the fog, you go straight forward, you know there should be a branching corridor that takes you around to those waiting rooms. You walk into a wall of force, but you thankfully don't see or hear any signs of snails or magic missiles being fired. So the trap seems to have been disarmed to some degree. And the wall of force dissipates after a minute. You explain to this man he just sort of has to wait because he needs clearance or something like that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you make your way through the fog, around the corner, to the stairs, which are webbed.
I can't believe this is also here.
You cut them down, and he's like, "Are you sure this is normal? This doesn't feel quite normal."
It is very tedious, I agree, but it is normal.
I guess a wizard of abjuration would be cautious. And you make your way
Stay
up
close
to
to me.
the library, and unfortunately the gargoyle guardians are broken. The stair pitfalls are still in place. So you have to sort of like pick up the man and leave him over there.
Yeah.
And he sort of marvels at the construction. This seems highly impractical. But who am I to judge the ways of a wizard? And
Especially not one of the council. Hold your tongue.
oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, sir. Go ahead and make just a deception check at advantage. Because Thaddeus is being so convincing in his roleplay.
Oh, a 20 and a 19.
Okay.
So that's 23.
Yeah, he's thoroughly convinced, and he shuts up a little bit after that. You get him up to the library, and he's sort of looking around at all the books. Oh my, okay.
Well,
I'm to just take record of the title and author of each book.
title, author, and if there's any sort of classification scheme you can do, so I never have been able to do, I'll assist you in whatever you can.
I think I will merely need some time. So if you can lead me to it, I can have Milo come and help later.
Is there anything you would have me do now? I'm free for the rest of the day.
If you could perhaps devise a way for me to ascend to here a little quicker, so I don't have to fight my way through those webs.
I tell you what, I'll go fetch mine for you. And
Okay.
I'll bring back a bedroll.
I'll be okay. How much are you paying?
I have coin.
Okay. And he sort of like gives an eyebrow raise, like he'd like to see some of it, but
He's not gonna challenge.
he can see by your attire that you have someone. So he begins to work, and you go off, bring
Yeah.
Milo through the same procedure.
Hack down through the stairs. Feel my way.
Probably
Well,
takes the whole rest of the day.
It probably does.
But when you
At
get
least the way back to his shop is faster now that we're not in his car.
yep, that's true.
Can you drive it? Do you take
No.
the car? Oh.
It's still just parked outside.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Street parking. He didn't didn't pay for parking, so we might get a ticket. You get Milo, bring him back up. And by the time you get back, he's arrayed out books all over the place. Most of them blank, and you reckon he found them somewhere in this library. And he's begun to pull books slowly and categorize.
Okay.
That's most of your day.
Yeah.
Mara, what would you like to do?
Okay, so when I get to the dusty bottle,
Mm-hmm.
I want to practice my unarmed strikes.
Oh, you want to get into a fist fight?
Yeah.
Are you trying to like get people to bet on you? What's the plan?
Just to have some fun and let off some steam and practice.
Alright, the dusty bottle is by nature rather empty. However, you have a beef with the bouncer there. Who sees you coming and he goes, "You!" And basically runs right up towards you, like fists ready for a fight, which is just what you wanted, so it's perfect.
You throw a dog at it. He's very surprised.
Let's have you make. What's better for you, dexterity or acrobatics or athletics?
Let's see.
Acrobatics.
Acrobatics, yeah.
Okay. Make an acrobatics check, as you're sort of relying on your dexterous nature to try and win this fight.
16.
Okay. He puts up a decent fight for a little while, and the one or two patients that are in here are just sort of like eyeing you as they slowly eat their soup and things like that. And this fight goes on for a few minutes, and by the end of it, there's more than one table that's broken. But yeah, I mean, it was a good fight.
Okay.
One of the patients sort of slow claps you, and then the bartender pops his head up from behind the bar and says, "Why?"
I feel much better now. Okay, a round of drinks on me.
You're gonna have to pay for more than drinks. The tables, the tables. And for the round of drinks and the damage to the property, he takes 5 gold off you if you'll pay it.
Okay.
But yeah, you feel like you accomplished a little bit. You can maybe get a little bit of a fight experience from that.
Okay.
And actually, 1 or 2 of the patrons throw you a few gold as well, for a total of 2.
Oh.
Okay, so it only cost me 3.
Yep. Just for the sheer entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment value.
And this guy is just like sort of slumped in a corner by the
Thank
time
you very
leave.
much. And he won't pick on me again.
Yep, probably not. I love it. Harmony, you spend another day hard at work. About 3/4 of the way through the day. Go ahead and make an Arcana check just to see how you do. You're working on the same assignment.
Yeah. Hopefully one of these strikes again.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Because why the hell have I not rolled above a 10 for any of these?
It's very
I
hard
mean,
to
for
get
2
above
minutes
10.
and you're already using Tides of Chaos.
It's worse. So 10 again.
10. And
And-
what's Tides of Chaos?
Oh.
78.
Okay.
Okay.
So that doesn't trigger. What happens is, as you finish what should be the completed enchantment here, you set the crown back on Hunter's head, and duplicate hunters spring out of him.
That's
These illusory duplicates, you can wave your hand through them, and they sort of mirror his slumped up position, but they look just like him. So the nature of the spell you were going for didn't take, but you got some effect to occur, and after a minute or so, that spell fades. And you go at this for probably about 3/4 of the day before Hunter's eyes blink open.
oh.
And he sort of looks around the room. He has this very sort of like
Buddy.
serious, solemn look on his face.
I mean,
Can
does
he
he
look
ever
different?
make any other
I mean-
expressions?
To an extent, he can. Like, he can produce the effect of a smile by, like, opening up his mouth a little bit, like, you know? So, he's just sort of got this serious, solemn look. As if
Hey, buddy. Good morning.
he's... Hi?
Are you okay?
We missed you.
He sort of looks down and he, like, looks at his hands a little bit, and, like moves the fingers, and pulls out his bow and sort of feels along the edge of it, and then along the string, slings it back. He says, I have some things to talk to the rest of you about when everyone's here.
Okay.
Well,
they should be back soon. They're off doing who knows what.
But eventually everyone does assemble back here. However, Hunter, after he says that, he says, just give me some time. I think I'll be back tomorrow morning, actually. If we can talk then. I need to go do something. And he leaves the magnificent mansion and goes out of Ciel's shop, actually. So, we can talk in the morning.
Okay.
Or maybe the afternoon. I'm not quite sure.
Do you need an illusion? Do you want me to?
He like pulls the cloak with the burn marks up over him, and he just sort of walks.
The burned armpits.
He looked like he was in his head about something.
Okay.
And he just says, "Yeah, I'll be back sometime tomorrow,
Be
afternoon
safe.
or morning.
Be safe.
Don't worry about it." He just heads out.
I don't like this.
Another sad ending.
And evening comes, dinner's brought out. The four of you eat together again.
Harmony
That
kind
is-
of pokes around at her food like
That
the
is-
rest.
It's just a shock. Were you aware that some aggression spells persist after death?
Yes, there are certain spells that can be cast with an indefinite period. Not all, but some. And usually they're very high-level spells.
Indeed.
Ah, you went back to Helja's tower, didn't you? And the smile comes out and she chuckles a little bit, the teeth flaring again. Well, that must have been entertaining.
It was
Why did
the
you go
opposite.
back to her tower? You didn't go back to that giant diamond, did you?
No.
Traitor!
No.
I forgot about that. Well, if
But-
not for a diamond, then why? Nothing else.
Helja has a great store of knowledge in her library. And now that Drix is gone, I thought that somebody should figure out what it all is. So that's what they did.
Boring.
It was. It was extremely boring.
Can I assume that you told the man that he can build House Hammerlock, or were you planning on paying him out of pocket?
I was actually.
Yeah.
How. What is. I'm trying to figure out on a scale of like 1 to 10 how much of a dick that he wants to be here. Because like 1 is he pays.
Mm-hmm.
5 is he says build the hammerlock. 10 is he says build it to Helja.
Roll a d10. If that's what you want to do, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well,
I think we landed on the hammerlock side.
Okay.
I don't think he's quite as far gone as saying build it to the bed lady.
yeah.
I mean, it's just hard to state it is.
Then yeah, he seems like he can build the expenses for him and Milo to your father. And by the time you had made it back with Milo, he's like drafting up a report, like a bill of transaction. And is about when Milo gets there. He like the first thing he does is have him run off with that to
Yeah.
House Hammerlock.
And I put like the C.
Yeah. In which case, evening falls, morning comes. The next morning, the room is yet a different color. It's red today. Right?
Red with red.
Red with, I think,
Gold.
yeah, gold is good for red. Red and gold.
Gryffindor colors.
Well, we just had Halloween. Why can't we have Christmas?
Because red and green kind of clash a little bit. Ciel's not about that.
Okay.
Ciel's hair today is like pulled up in a bun, and the bun is red. We go through the whole breakfast routine. Hunter hasn't come back yet. However, you've just sent off a bill that you feel is probably pretty large to your father. So, what would you like to do with the morning?
And I assume you've told us about Hunger. Like, said again.
Oh yeah. I would have told you about that last night.
Should we wait for him?
I feel like the first thing that Harmony would do when she wakes up is she would take the tiara out into the main store area and sit in front of the window on top of the table, the animated table, like cross-legged, and kind of look out the window and also practice on the tiara, but also like looking out the window.
Make an Arcana check with disadvantage because you're not focused.
I'm not focused. Not that I need disadvantage. Oh, I finally roll well, and I've got disadvantage. So 6.
6. Yeah, you can't get more magic to take than like a few seconds of this channeling. But you know that like you're getting the process because you set up the ritual by yourself this time. So at least you're learning what to do, and you've got like the book that CL provided you on basic enchanting, and you've got the set of materials. So like you're all set. You just need to actually have time to practice it now. While Harmony's doing that, is Thaddeus going out anywhere today? Or just waiting for Hunter?
I think he's going to wait for Hunter until afternoon.
Okay. Is Mara going to do anything or wait for Hunter?
No, wait for Hunter.
Okay. Around afternoon, Hunter comes back, pulls back the hood, comes through the door,
Harmony's following him like a dog or...
sees Harmony there.
Master, you're home, you're home.
Sort of gives a little nod and like gestures towards the cabinet and goes and crawls in, and then sits down in a chair and looks to the rest of you and says, "Okay, let's talk." And that's where we'll end for tonight.
I figured.
So we didn't actually get to Hammerlock, but I feel it will be better with Hunter anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Back here, yeah.
that's
good.
That was a fun episode tonight of random shenanigans and roleplay and a little bit of combat.
A bar fight.
I feel like that was a really good session.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It was good. Nice character building.
Anyone who watched, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked these crazy characters, you can watch the VOD immediately after this. The episode will go up on YouTube with the rest of our playlist for the past 47 episodes of the show on Wednesday of this week. Or you can go to YouTube right there or right away and begin to catch up from episode 1 or wherever you feel like it. We're also going to rebroadcast tomorrow morning. And we try to be in the chat for that so that we can fill in people who watched with information about what's been going on and things like that, since we don't necessarily have time while we're role-playing. But yeah, it was a fun episode, so I hope everyone enjoyed. We'll see you all next week. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.